I'm excited to talk to two amazing women today and have them share their stories to cover launching in lockdown. So first up, we have Sarah Matheson, who is the founder and creative director of Hungry Harry's.
So guys, hello everybody, hope you're safe and well. So I'm Sarah Matheson, I'm the creative director and co-founder of Hungry Harry's. And yes, everything is in our kitchen as we have been at home for the last 12 months. I'm also a food allergy mum. So I'm going to tell you the story about how we became a food allergy family to give you some context first. So we're very lucky to have this photo. And I'm going to try and get through this without getting teary. So Harry had an anaphylaxis in Thailand. An anaphylaxis is an acute allergic reaction and they're life-threatening. It's moments to minutes from eating something as simple as a cookie, and we ended up in an ambulance, and we did have a life and death situation. You know, that's really, really challenging. And just to let you know, that once every 3 minutes, somebody in the US ends up in an emergency room because of a reaction to food, a food allergy. So 87 million people across the US are impacted by food allergy. 31 million people have life-threatening food allergies. There's no cure. There's an enormous amount of research, and we support all the research. It's not going to change tomorrow. It's not going to change in 2 years. It's not necessarily going to change in 5 years. So 1 in 13 kids have food allergies, 2 in every classroom, 1 in 10 adults, and 1 in 13% of active serving military. The free from consumer spends $19 billion a year. So this is Hungry Harry's. We're a range of allergy-friendly baking mixes. We're pantry staples. We taste like regular food. Pancakes, muffins, yellow cake, chocolate cake, and an all-purpose flour. So what you normally find in your pantry, we just happen to be free of the top 14 allergens, which means 95% of those with food allergies can eat our food. And because we taste like regular food, everybody else eats it as well. So think of mum baking a cake for a birthday party. She bakes one cake that everybody can eat instead of the allergy kid over there not being able to participate. Now, how did we survive COVID? You know, if Dana Bash on CNN can say this, I can too. Last year was a shit show. It was everything that could change, changed. It was upside down. And as a startup, we were like, well, nothing's changing really because we already work from home. And because we're a startup that thinks like an enterprise, we had our business structure in place to allow us to scale because we work strategically with these organizations. So we were able to pivot and change direction and change the channels that we would be focusing on. So we sell Hungry Harry's through our website, through Amazon, and through supermarkets. And in February last year, we were just seeing a ramp up on Amazon, and we were just rolling out to the High Bear supermarket group. Both of those channels got completely disrupted. So we focused very much on our own website, and we decided to build up our community, our engagement with the food allergy community. So that first layer of the onion, the center of our target market. And we've spent the last year consolidating our relationships there. And it's because of these relationships that we're able to manage growth. And our path to growth is because we work with companies like Where2Go and like UPS. So UPS, everybody knows UPS. They deliver half your products. So what we've done since we began the business is we have documented our engagement with UPS. So we have a group of home bakers, and we send product out, boxes, our home baker boxes out every month. So we're sending 35 boxes from our home office via UPS to bakers across the country. So what we do is every time we do that, we actually grab it on our iPhone. In this instance, we actually trailed a UPS truck because we had a hideous blizzard. We couldn't get out, we didn't think we'd get to the store. We found a UPS truck on the street. We got them to stop, and the guys got the boxes out of our car. Thank you. So we documented that, and I went straight from my mobile phone, straight up incoming files, and there it is ready for us to organize. With the rest of the archive architecture that you see on the left-hand side, you see that there's lots of green dots, which means it's open. Our partners at UPS, when they need an image, can jump in and actually find something, and they do that on a regular occurrence. And the difference is because we're organized, because we have a whole range of visual assets, videos and stills about our relationship with UPS, about how our home bakers and customers use UPS, we put ourselves on the front foot when it comes to getting engagement with them and profiled. So in October, they profiled us. So we've been going for just under a year. And so UPS did a small business profile on Hungry Harry's. That was generated because we had amazing content, okay? And we're able to share that content very quickly. And this is the feedback we got. Just get my panel out of the way. Okay, Sarah, thank you so much for supplying so many great assets for us to use on the posts. We're happy to promote a fabulous customer. Best, our friend. So the thing here is we have so many beautiful stories that we are telling as a startup, how we're working internally, how we're working with our strategic partners, how we're engaging with our customers. And if we document them, organize them on PhotoShelter, and then are able to share them quickly, it puts us in a strategic advantage. Note, everybody, it really works. Sorry. What makes a brand successful? All right, a bit of marketing 101. Defendable points of difference, and you need rational and emotional points of difference. So Hungry Harry's is forever free of the top 14 allergens. So I want everybody to either grab a piece of paper or do this in the air, down one axis we're down one side of an axis, across the other side of an axis. 14 to the power of 14. Now cross-tabulate that. 15,363 different combinations of these top 14 allergens, and you still can eat Hungry Harry's. So that means every supermarket, every household. So our target market is first the food allergy families, and then everybody else who breaks bread, who shares food, who feeds a food allergy person. So 90% of those with food allergies can eat Hungry Harry's, and it tastes like regular food. When I say regular food, it's pancakes. Who doesn't love pancakes? And muffins. Oops, wrong way, sorry. Oh, this is one of our home bakers. He's absolutely beautiful. This little guy has a pile of allergies. He'd never had cake. He'd never had a safe cake. He was gluten, dairy, eggs, soy. He can't eat any of those. So a lot of the other manufacturers, they might be gluten-free, but they process nuts in their facility, or they process soy on the same line. Our products are free from the top 14 allergens. Always will be, always have been, and we have a clean facility. So chocolate cake. Who doesn't like a chocolate cake? 5-year-old kids wanting to be able to eat the same chocolate cake, the same birthday cake as everybody else. And cookies. Who doesn't want a cookie? Rite of passage. So our workflow is pretty succinct, and I will refer to Ron. Thank you very much. File conventions. If there's anything you can learn, take away, organize your file convention. We use the same one, year, month, date, _ location, _ event for everything. So I have my 1DX Mark II, yes, big heavy camera up on a tripod. We capture raw. I have it counterweighted with, yes, bags of milk, long life milk. That was a physics experiment. So I then use the EOS utility uploader, go through to Lightroom. It's an automatic upload. We bring it down. I load it straight into PhotoShelter on the day of capture. So we hold the raw files there. We also, Jen, who's our amazing photo editor and video editor, will download them, edit them, and put back up the edited files ready for us to use for social. And then we have everything that goes into campaign assets. So we work out what we're going to be doing for the next 6 weeks for social media. We run all of our campaigns over brand, tactical, strategic, and educational. And we tag each of the photos. So yeah, that's a brand photo, that's a tactical. So on the left-hand side in the architecture, you can see day of capture for the 9th of March. We got everything ready for promoting St. Patrick's Day. So we started to do content there. So you see the peppermint brownies here, and you'll see them down here as well. So across here, everything that we need, all organized. And we do the same thing across Pinterest, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Twitter. These are our beautiful home bakers. I mentioned that we have 35 of them. They're from all over the country. They're every socioeconomic bracket, every ethnicity, and every type of allergy. So we are very much a small company with a product range that can suit everybody. So therefore, large scale. So what we have here is for International Women's Day, we got them all to do selfies, and they all have beautiful yellow sweaters. Yes, we use yellow, psychology of color, bright, cheery, safe. And they use the file uploader to get them back to us. So everything you can see the number of photos that our home bakers generate for us on a regular basis. We're talking hundreds, hundreds and hundreds. There is no other way you could manage this. And because of COVID, we couldn't go out into, drive around the country and visit these people all over the country. So we relied on them creating content, sharing the moments, uploading them via the uploader, and then we would go through and edit and document and then create our archives. When you talk about those emotional points of difference when you create a brand, think that you're a food allergy kid and you never could have cookies. You couldn't have cookie. You couldn't engage in cookie. You didn't like cooking because there's so much stuff you couldn't have. This is Jake. He's a national Taekwondo expert and a FAIR advocate. FAIR is the Food Allergy and Research and Education Organisation. They're a national body and they do all the campaigning at government level to, for example, get sesame on as the 9th allergen. The market at the moment is kind of pretty standardised on top 8. It's about to become top 9. That means so many brands are going to have to be changing packaging, changing claims, doing a lot of legals, changing creative. Hungry Harry's is already top 14. Top 14 is actually the global standard. So with Jake, what we did was we worked with another one of our strategic partners, which is R&M International. So they're one of the largest cookie cutter companies. We sent Jake and 5 other home bakers cookie cutters of each of the states of the US. So they baked America. And then we used it on some creative that went out on the 4th of July. So if you want to have a look, go onto our Instagram, follow us, have a look at the 4th of July, and you'll see this groovy little UPS truck going all over America, over the cookies of America created by our home bakers. The way that we use workspaces, and we've engaged a lot more in this, if we've got a specific campaign, we will go through our archive and we'll find photos that are relative to that campaign. For example, hearts for Valentine's Day. We then look and go, what else do we need? We've got a lot of muffin, got a lot of waffle, we've got, okay, right. So we know from here, we need to bake or get our home bakers to bake heart cakes or do heart cookies. Great, not a problem. That helps us optimize what we have and strategically and cost effectively create new content. So I hope that kind of gives you an overview. The most important thing I can say is file convention, get organized, and use PhotoShelter as a way to optimize your assets internally. But when you're dealing with influencers, make sure that they use those workflows because it saves you an enormous amount of time. If you have any questions, I'll be in the Slack channel a little later. And if you're interested, you can pop on to hungryharrys.com and have a look at all of our recipes. There's about 60 or 70 on there. Okay, that's all from me.
Oh, that was awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much. The message of inclusivity, I think, extends well beyond even food, but to have someone be able to eat a piece of chocolate cake for the first time is just phenomenal in any sense. But thank you so much for sharing.
We say we're not trying to put our kids on the moon. We just want to give them chocolate cake, which is a rite of passage of indeed. No?
I agree. We will bring you up in a bit to have a little bit more Q&A, but I'd like to welcome now Nicole Zaleski from RZ Creative Productions to pop on. Hey.
Hey. Thank you for having me today. I'm just a little bit of a background. I work with my husband, Robert. We run a full service photo and video production company. And so we didn't always work together. A little bit of a background on us. Sorry, excuse me, I'm having technical difficulties over here, guys.
If you click the screen and then click right, it should, okay, there we go.
Here we go, thank you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so like I was saying, we didn't always work together. I was working in LA, working for multiple production companies, and my husband Robert had a pretty extensive background working for advertising agencies, He was a creative director and staff photographer for many years for a bunch of different publications. And so the beginning of us working together was really just a natural evolution. I started assisting him on set, and it was a really great opportunity for us to just really see how one another works on set, how we interact with talent, crew, and just really see how one another works. And so from there, it just really started progressing. We realized that by working together, we could operate as a full service company, which was a different avenue we saw than sort of a single shooter. And so by realizing that we were stronger together, we continued to evolve our business and work together. And then over the years, we realized that our clients were starting to ask more and more for smaller shoots more often versus the bigger shoots less often. And so we really felt that this was being influenced by social media. The lifespan of an image was shrinking, but that's not to say that the impact of that image was not just as important. But because the lifespan was shrinking, and our clients were needing to constantly have new content, fresh content to post on their social and web, we realized that it was important to evolve with the industry. So we were listening to the trends and we evolved with it. We built this model where we could scale up or we could scale down based on what it was that our client was looking for. So then in 2017, we bought a van. We built it out ourselves. We decided to go through that process. As you can see, it took a few months, but it was a really great process and fun. Needless to say, we're creative people. But while on the road, we knew that we could operate still consistently with our clients because we did have clients that we were working with remotely. We could continue to produce work for them remotely. Our clients were also familiar with PhotoShelter. We've been longtime users of PhotoShelter. They were used to receiving their images in that way. So while we were living a less than normal and nomadic lifestyle, from the client side, we were consistent. And I think that was really important to give us that freedom to be able to still deliver our images the same way and not really have any sort of difference on the client side. PhotoShelter has a lot of tools that we utilize, and one of them is also just for archive. We archive all of our image assets through PhotoShelter, whether it's client work or personal work to share online and social media. Especially living in the van, to have that archival tool, it was crucial to keep us organized, and it was something that we will continue to rely on now that we're no longer nomadic. So for about a year and a half, we were traveling in the van, and we came across Charleston, South Carolina, and we really fell in love with the area. So we sold our van. We packed up what was left in California. We flew back to California, packed up what we had, and we, because we're suckers for a road trip, drove across the country. We arrived in Charleston quite literally just as the pandemic was in full force, and the governor was actually of South Carolina was actually putting the stay-at-home order in place the day we drove into Charleston. At that time, our plan was we had a 4-day rental for an Airbnb, and from there we thought, well, we'll just figure it out. Unbeknownst to us, things got a little bit more complicated, but we quickly got our ducks in a row and just kind of established a home base and a place to work. And so we immediately started brainstorming about, how can we continue to work? Because we saw that now more than ever, our clients and potential clients have this audience, that are online, are on their screens now more than ever. and people are scrolling, people are online shopping, and we have an opportunity to speak to this audience, this captive audience. And so how do we, with all that's limited to us, how do we help them speak to them and reach those people? And so, we thought, well, we don't have models. What do we have access to? We don't have access to locations like we usually would. What do we have access to? And so we had a little breakfast nook is the answer to that question. A little room in our rental. It had hardwood floors, ceilings that were just high enough. And so we thought, we could turn this into a studio space. So we got a little creative. We reached out to some of our clients, and we were able to operate in the beginning, shooting some studio stuff. This was a campaign we shot for ASICS. We did a Mother's Day and Father's Day campaign for them. And we knew that this wasn't a long-term solution because our space was clearly limited. But we did get creative with it. We turned our space into a yoga studio for one of our wellness brands. And during that time, we started seeing South Carolina slowly opening up. And so we kind of, at first, it was very small production, very small sets with very limited people. We also worked with family members, people that were not proper models per se, but they were living under the same roof, and we could kind of stay in a safe space with them while continuing to work. And that was kind of some of the growing process that we went through. And then slowly but surely, things were just opening up, but we really felt prepared for years ago for us to have committed to just this model of being able to scale up or scale down. That's exactly what was happening as things were kind of thawing out here. And also, we were just listening to the trends. We were just evolving with what the protocols were, and so we really felt prepared for it. There's something to be said for being able to stay nimble when things kind of are chaotic. Sarah even brought this up, and just being able to pivot is really important. I'm sure that's what a lot of people take away from this time, is the ability to pivot is something that you should definitely continue to have moving forward, because who knows what things are going to look like from here on out. But so as we're continuing to go through this process of things, in this social distant space, PhotoShelter has been a really great tool for our clients to be able to still feel like they're part of the process. And so while they have been relying on us a bit more logistically and even for overall creative direction, we're finding that the way that we interact with PhotoShelter through PhotoShelter with our clients really does make them feel like they still have a voice. And so what that process sort of looks like for us is, after a shoot, we'll sift through our images, and we'll just kind of get rid of the obvious misses. And then we will send them a gallery of the images that we shot that day. They get to go through, select their favorites based on the deliverables that we agreed upon. And then from there, we send them high res, and they've got their assets ready to post and ready to share. So if there's two takeaways that I really have from this experience, one, it's the importance of watching and listening to the industry and evolving with it, because this industry is constantly evolving, pandemic or not. And so I think listening to that and not being afraid to move with it is something that's really important. And also just that it's crucial to have resources and tools that you can rely upon no matter what you're going through.
Muted. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Yeah.
That was great. And Sarah, you're back up. Thank you both so much for sharing your stories. And it's so interesting because even though distinct, I guess, perspectives of what you're kind of covering, CPG to kind of creative production, there are so many, intersecting points that I kind of pulled out that I'd love to ask a couple of questions on. But I think it's the nimbleness. Like I think that is so key, as well as being able to scale up and down, evolution, smart partners, reliable tools. It seems like all of those are consistent trends that I'm sure that our audience can appreciate, no matter really what vertical you're operating in. But I would like to ask that, if you're doing a little bit of a look back, and maybe Nicole, you can kick off. Um, what is one thing that maybe you wish you had done, or thought about doing, that you didn't do, and if you could redo, not that anyone would want to this crazy past year, but if you could do it again, or maybe one thing that you would take hold of as you think about this next year, I'd love for you to share a little perspective on that, and then Sarah, you can share after.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the obvious of, I wish I would have loaded up on toilet paper way in advance for this.
Investments, options, we missed. Okay, all right. Sure.
But that's a great question. I think when I look back on it, I think we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves to create new, fresh content for our clients. And while they did appreciate our ability to do that, we've been doing this for years. We've been sitting on assets that we've created that I think we really could have looked at that and thought about, how can we repurpose stuff we've already created? How can we get more life out of assets, whether they're photo or video, that we can repurpose and have our clients utilize. So I think that sort of pressure, that initial pressure of how can we keep creating and working similarly to how we were before. I think kind of just taking a second to look at what we already have would have been something that we could have utilized, definitely.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and I do think that's a trend. Maybe it's like the newness or the consumability of, like, getting, things out there. Sarah, you called out your Instagram. I mean, there's these followers and this need for content, and especially if you're not together, consuming it in a mobile or digital way. But when you look at the flip side, I think it's the Forrester quote, 5% of the content pool is only utilized. So it's a 95% waste. So I think that's so smart to lean into that usability and just get that, squeeze all of that value out of that. It's a great one. Sarah, would you love to share your perspective of one thing that, you kind of would have wished you've done that maybe you didn't, or that you would take into this year?
I think we work with supermarkets all over the country, and I think one of the challenges we've had is teaching them how valuable the content that is created by our home bakers is for them. So when COVID, we were just starting those conversations with a particular supermarket group, and I was like, we can feed you content that's made by bakers who live around the corner from your supermarket. And we've got file flow, we can get it to you, and it can go to the person that's on the supermarket floor that you have now nominated to run your Instagram account, because she can't do in-store promotions and any sampling. But we were only just starting to do that and educate them on the importance of it. And then COVID hit, and that changed the pro. They were so busy looking at how to manage people through their supermarket that we couldn't get through to them to say, hey guys, we can help you. So we were able to start those programs, but we didn't actually start them until about September. So we lost this whole pile of time. So what we do now is that when we have a new strategic partner, we set up their architecture, we explain how it works, we show them, we give them 3 or 4 examples, and we go, we need to start here. This isn't the last thing we do together. Yes, we use your product, you use our product. This is where we start. We start by sharing visual assets.
I love that. So it's almost retraining, like the processes that work for you. It's like training your partners to follow suit in that. I love that. And it's if the process works, to your point about smart partners and alignments, like stay true to that. I mean, that is that's key. That's great. Nicole, one thing you shared about sort of your van's awesome, by the way. I think it's so great. Do you guys still drive around in it? It's amazing.
We sold it actually, but
oh geez, well,
I know.
It's like a project of love. You can pick something else up, but no, it's awesome. The one thing that you shared, and I think the flexing up and down that you and your husband leaned into, was the corporations actually sort of pivoting what they're doing. Large scale budgets, maybe big things, that's not possible for a lot of reasons, but also something that you just weren't exposed to. Do you see that sort of as a a trend that is consistent, that the learnings maybe on the corporate side is we can also maybe be nimble, or do you think I don't know, do you think things will go back to, how it was in 2019 with what the work you're seeing?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a trend that will stay, not only for the sake of social media and being able to just have newer, fresher content on a more regular basis, but it's also just from a safety protocol aspect to have smaller sets. I think that that's always going to be a benefit for people, even in this post COVID world. I think that will still be something that people think more about than they did before. Also, too, I think that we've just seen, since we've been producing this way, that our clients really do get more variety working in this model. And so while it might be more work for us, we're finding that our clients are really seeing us as a partner through the process, because we are able to work with them, and as they're still discovering what's the best marketing plan that works for them. So that's where that, again, like we're saying, the nimbleness and being able to scale up or scale down. We've had clients that thought they needed it, once a month, and they thought maybe let's do, quarterly and have medium-sized shoots. So we're working with our clients to just figure out what's the best way to work for them. But I do think that's a long-term, I think that's a long-term trend, and I don't see that going away anytime soon.
Yeah, there were some, big names, La Roche-Posay and L'Oreal and ASICS. I mean, it's and it makes a lot of sense that you can get something very unique and custom, maybe more than the broad strokes that you would deliver. That's great. Thank you for that. I love Sarah, the enterprise, thinking broad, and I think both of you stay so true to your mantras and your positioning. But can you talk a little bit about anything that you have learned that you would either kind of strip away from, that enterprise thought, or anything that you, again, had learnings on, that as a small brand, staying true to your consumers and your mantra, that you could share? I think it'd be great for the audience to hear more on.
The most important thing for us as a brand is we need to be able to scale. For any startup to go from, hey, I've got this great recipe, I know that it solves a problem for consumers, I want to get it into supermarkets. That's an incredibly big jump. And a lot of brands manage to get into the supermarket, and they might get some locally, but then how do they get the next 1,000 or go to 2,000 or go to 3,000? So we spent a lot of last year working on our startup at things like an enterprise. So workflows for each section of the business, so we could grow as needed. And it's that flexibility, and it's how do we manage production? How do we roll out? We got another 45 supermarkets last week. How do we roll them out? How do we market to them? How do we connect with them? How do we organize? Yeah, okay, first thing we do is, right, these 5 products are in these supermarkets. Here are the assets that we want to share with that supermarket, because it's different to the other supermarket we've got, because it's got to be unique. So it is thinking like a large organization, but having the flexibility to pivot, and that's what's going to save you. But having the workflow that allows you to change as you need. But that workflow comes from discipline of standing back and looking at everything and starting with a file convention and starting with the correct architect and starting, as we have learned, first conversation with the partner is we can share amazing assets with you. Hope that helps.
I think no, that was great. And I also think the flexibility there probably, Nicole, extends to how you even approach your different client relationships as well. Not, if you had ASICS and then you had Reebok, they are very different, even if they're both athleisure wear, and I don't know if that also probably resonates with your approach too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course, every client's different, but so, even the more corporate clients that have established a way that they expect content to be produced, even before COVID, we've just seen them with the world of social media, just having to figure out a new way. So I think social media really forced people to and companies to change the way that they're looking at content before even COVID. And so I think there definitely was a lot of people that were pushed to make a digital switch. Clients of ours that maybe used to put marketing budget into trade shows. They found themselves sitting on, it was a balance of, they were afraid to spend it at first because they thought, I don't know what to do with this money. And then they realized pretty quickly, everyone's online and we've got to market to them and put those dollars to use. So just kind of like we're all saying, I think it's dependent on the client, but they're all kind of going through the same process at the same time.
Yeah, and I think also too, what both of you have shared sort of differently, but I think the brands and how you both didn't really miss a step when it was like, we talk about normal, like what is normal now? Well, guess what? Maybe what's the next launch that's happening next year, pandemic or not? Maybe everything's going to be Instacart, so we're going to need to be malleable on Hungry Harry's, or maybe corporations are going to want you on site. Like who knows? So I think it's that trend. The other awesome point, I think, Sarah, that you shared, that Nicole, I think you'd probably agree with, is access. I mean, if you have access to whatever it is, a video, a client example, then you are empowered, for that sharing or that deliverable, which I think is a pretty important, ubiquitous point for, I think, everyone kind of listening today. So I didn't know. Okay, go ahead.
Every one of our strategic partners needs content. So, and the story that we tell about how we use their products to help us grow is incredibly valuable to them. And as I said, we're now doing that as the first part of the relationship, and they see it. And we have, like, Where to Go called us last week and said, yeah, we need images of, and I went, yeah, sure, here are 7 images of shippers. Use what you want. It's a strategic partnership.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So I think we have we're gonna do parting words in this lockdown session, but I think we have like a minute. I don't know, Nicole, if there's any last thoughts or anything that you'd share, with the creative community joining us today. I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think the focus on staying flexible, I feel like we kind of beat that down, but it's really important and it's crucial to not be afraid to, and not be afraid to jump into something with your client and be that partner with them, because they are just discovering things with you as well. And that's okay to be a little transparent in that. I can't say enough to not just sit still and wait for the phone to ring. No one's going to pick up. We're all kind of trying to figure out what's the best way to captivate this audience that's right there, that is on their screens constantly. So I think just, being flexible and not being stagnant, not waiting for this normal to come back, especially in this industry, it's always evolving. So I think just really saddling into that will always put you in a better position.
Awesome, thank you. Sarah, as well?
Remove boundaries from yourself, lead with creativity, bring partners together, because you'll find that actually creates this amazing opportunity for people to reinforce each other's brand positioning, and the customer that is valued, and the customer gets so much more out of it. And but maintain your creative standards. We all, especially because we're all home, so much use of the iPhone, we're just bringing back more better quality content into it. So you'll see that our feed is now 40% created by our community, which all use their iPhone, and then 60% created by us. So it's that balance that we've all, as photographers, we kind of go, oh, but we have to be flexible, and you've got to lead with that creativity to solve the problem.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. I've learned so much. I need to double down on my entrepreneurship and do some more things, but this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing both of your journeys and your stories. I'm sure, I have no doubt that you'll be doing amazing, amazing things with everything you shared for this year. So I'm looking forward to keeping up with you guys both. So thank you so much for sharing.
Great. Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.
Thanks, guys.